Deluded. West Ham 1, Arsenal nil. And before I begin, if you're having any issues hearing me, it's not on purpose. I've tried everything to fix it. The problem is being worked on. There isn't a whole bunch I can do. So if you can't hear me, there's nothing I can do for you right now. All I can do is say turn it up, grab some headphones, or if not, switch it off. But for those of you that can bear with the grit of the audio, again, apologies. Let's crack on. We know we lost to West Ham. Now it's a London derby. It's another loss. When you consider that, forgive me if I'm wrong, but do we not have Chelsea and Manchester City back to back? Sandwiched in between that could be Cardiff. I could be wrong, but yeah, we put ourselves in a special position. I mean, only Arsenal are capable of doing this. Going into the game, what can I say? We have been kind of woeful on the road of late. We need to keep a clean sheet. They would like to keep a clean sheet, which they done. Both sides would like to win. Both sides would like to, yeah, both sides would just like to win. We know we got United breathing down our necks. We kind of, obviously we lost, but in hindsight, before that, we were trying to catch Chelsea. It is what it is now. We've lost. We're not going to get top four. Top four is a myth. I've told you lot already. Can't expect to get top four with the likes of Mustafi and etc. Not to name drop. Um, but yeah, what can I say, man? In regards to the first half, I actually give credit to West Ham, man, because especially the first 20, they were all over us, man. Towards the end of the first half, or even in stages, you could say we got down the left-hand side. Kohler linked up well. Lacazette had a few efforts from range. One in the 21st, no, one before. There was one early on in the game. He shot from range and it just skimmed. He obviously, 21st minute or so, Declan Rice blocked an effort. Aubameyang had one. Guendouzi in the first half had a couple, but excluding that, it was all West Ham for me, in my opinion, and I'll give credit to West Ham. Now, West Ham haven't been, obviously, they've results of recent haven't gone their way, but they've kind of turned a corner of sorts, and they're playing free flowing football. I have to give credit to the West Ham crowd as well, because considering the form they're in, and not to we know Arsenal out of all the top six sides, the sides you fancy, the crowd really played their part from the off. They were vocal. The players fed into that. You saw them. For me, I mean, I have to give credit. West Ham put together some nice, lovely bits of play, starting from wide positions. Nasri was pulling the strings. Felipe Anderson, nice little 1-2s. And the only criticism for West Ham would be technically, I guess Leno's made some saves, but you're probably not testing him enough. And they're going forward. They're not over respecting us. They're not sitting in two banks of four or in a 4-5-1 and 11 men behind the ball, 10 men behind the ball, and just sucking up pressure. They were having a go, and that's why you win games. That's how you beat Arsenal. And they did their thing, to be honest with you. They really did. From an Arsenal perspective, I wasn't happy with first and foremost the playing out from the back. I feel Leno was cool. I'm not got no problems with Leno. Socrates, Koscielny, etc. is far too slow. Our general play, and this is exactly what I said on Arsenal Fan TV, there is an issue whether many people will point to Mesut Ozil not being in the side, and not that we would have won if he was there, but as much as I love him, there's an issue with creativity within the side. There's an issue with creating chances, and that falls on the players, but it also falls on Unai Emery, because this is a man who says, who did say when he signed for the club, he wants to be brave. He'd rather lose 5-4 than 1-0, and you're not really seeing any fluidity or really anything beyond relying on Aubameyang and Lacazette or etc. to convert half chances, really and truly. Because again, the players are the ones playing on the field, but we really don't know what Unai Emery is trying to do beyond playing out from the back and appearing to kind of favour a rigid sort of stability wise, and then go from there. We don't really know what Unai Emery is trying to do with this side. Now, people can say it's not his players, it's this and that. All of that is true, but to a degree, he knew the job he was walking into, and I can't understand it. But back to the players. Socrates and all of them, they were cowering in possession. Midfield in the first half, Xhaka and Guendouzi, although Guendouzi was, the application was there, the quality wasn't. I didn't see either of them actively trying to receive it off the centre half and actually offering something on the ball. When they did, it was just more often than not sideways passes, to the point where we were just trying long balls. There was one, I think Mustafi popped a long ball to Lacazette and he was offside. To be fair, it was a good ball. Someone gave one to Aubameyang. There was about 3 or 4 of them between us, and there wasn't really any options. Kohler and Iwobi did well going forward in patches, and I use the phrase "did well" lightly, because we didn't do enough today. Ultimately, no one was showing courage. No one was showing a willingness to be that guy to stand up to be counted. I felt sorry for Aubameyang and Lacazette as well, because Yeah, man, you need to let them both just try kind of play centrally and have the freedom to roam. And you could say that happened, but I'm seeing Aubameyang on the flanks. I'm seeing Lacazette having to drop deep to get onto the ball. That's easy for West Ham. Even before that, I think we could have pressed West Ham's defense a bit more. You've seen games in the draw against Liverpool, and then obviously against Spurs when we beat them. Press the back four. No disrespect to West Ham, but their back fours are not on the level of Spurs and Liverpool. So if you can do that against them, why are you not pressing them? We're allowing Diop to bring the ball forward. We're allowing Declan Rice to receive it off the centre halves. We're allowing too much space. We really engineered this ourselves from not starting strongly, not having the effort and things like that. How many saves did Fabianski have to make? And ex Arsenal man in Nasri is pulling strings and really looking like something's gonna happen. Like I said, it was really lackluster and just really no inspiration, to be honest. There was half chances throughout, to be honest with you. Socrates did very well in the 18th minute to block an effort from Arnautovic. You obviously saw Felipe Anderson go inches wide of the post in the 31st minute. Guendouzi, to be fair to our credit, had one in the 34th minute. So although on one hand Arsenal dominating possession, technically stats wise, it didn't feel like that for me. It felt like West Ham was on top. It felt like the majority of the game was in our own half. And if I was a West Ham fan going into half time, I'd be happier. I'd be vexed because for all the play you've done, I felt you could have probably had a bit more quality in the final third, and as a result of that score and going to half time at 0-0, Arsenal fans, we're kind of lucky it's 0-0, to be fair with you, and we have not been at it. And again, it's woeful and it feels like choking. Obviously the season isn't decided this week, but again, the most these Arsenal players can do, top four is unrealistic, but the most you can do is win your games, and they're failing to do that. And it all comes from the first 10 minutes, just not starting well. You need to set the tone. So I need to wonder, what are these lot doing? Half time, like I've said, my thoughts are, I've already said West Ham are popping it nicely in stages, but it could improve. They're threatening from, starting attacks from wide areas. I feel we're sitting off their defenders, like I've said it already. Possessions, stats wise, possessions with us, but I feel more meaningful possession or whatnot was with West Ham. What else is there? Yeah, we're not really creating nothing apart from efforts from range, hopeful balls forward, and everyone's just playing hot potato. No one's trying to take responsibility for the game. Second half now, I don't know what's said at half time, and credit to Henry. I know he's probably told them they need to fix up. I do think in hindsight, I'm not going to say, I feel Maitland-Niles was cool, but not to start Torreira is a big one, and it hurt us today, to be honest with you, not starting Torreira. Second half wasn't much better. We can see the goal in the 47th minute or so, very quickly after half time, and it's a poor goal from an Arsenal perspective, to be honest with you. Mustafi, again, I told you a lot about the long balls. If you watch the build up to it, it's a hopeless long ball from him. West Ham regain possession. I think Guendouzi tries to, I can't remember exactly, but Guendouzi doesn't exactly cover himself in any joy with a weak effort attempt at the ball. Obviously, you see Mustafi concede the free kick. The free kick's obviously dealt with, and then they get a corner. Then obviously from the corner, I couldn't understand it. Felipe Anderson does well. Lacazette does what he could. But I'm looking at our three centre halves. What are you lot doing? Now it's a fairy tale for Declan Rice. He had a great game and he deserves that goal. He deserves his first Premier League goal, senior goal, if that is it. But if you look at our three centre halves, Koscielny, Sokratis, and Mustafi, again, for another video I've said this, regardless of what you think of these players and their abilities, Sokratis has enough experience from playing for his country and playing for clubs like AC Milan and Dortmund and all of these sort of things. Mustafi, again, we know he's arguably the worst out of three, World Cup winner and should have enough experience. Koscielny's been around the block numerous times. None of them look at Declan Rice. None of them. They're all caught ball watching. Now, I'm not saying if they looked at him, they'd be able to do something. But how are you losing men? Nasri does very well, of course. And we also need to highlight it's a woeful attempt at a clearance from Xhaka. And he's going to continue to do this. And he's done this frequently for us. Not got a defensive ball in his body. So, yeah, they take advantage and it's 1-0 up. And ultimately, we shot ourselves in the foot. But if you look beyond this or before this, how you start games or how you manoeuvre in games has a reaction. Because, yes, you can point to Xhaka's silliness, Mustafi's silliness, the centre-halves, like I said, or even Guendouzi and Mustafi in the build-up. But what you need to remember is how we started this game. If we scored our goals, if we took some chances, if we created more chances, we might not have been in this position. West Ham were all over us, and they haven't beaten us in, 13 years or so at their place. And they played like they wanted to really make an end to it. And what can I say? Them man, they were inspired. We weren't. It's all well and dandy for the players and the manager to come out and say we've dropped points, we should have done this and that. It's fine, but we've got a serious a serious 6-pointer. In fact, you might as well call that a 12-pointer in the 2 games against Chelsea and City, which as an Arsenal fan, you're writing off. These are the games we needed to win. This, Cardiff, games like this, and it's more dropping points. The players were poor today as well. The players were clearly poor, but I feel the manager as well has to take a lot of blame. We can't keep sitting here and saying it's not his players, it's not this and that. Again, he's the one I got the least amount of blame for. But the more we go on, we need to see something from him. Yeah, we know it's not his side and stuff like that. And I'm not expecting miracles. But by the same logic, you kind of want to see what your team is shaping up to, or at least what your team is attempting to do. Now, if anyone can sit here and say they can see what Unai Emery is trying to implement beyond the counter-attacking, beyond an attempt to solidify and be more rigid in midfield, you're lying, because you can't see it. You can't see it. Same way you can praise him for implementing playing out from the back and these things, you need to ask questions of defenders. Now, I'm not saying he should make Mustafi a world beater, because he can't. I don't even think Jesus could. But what I'm trying to say is that they're making the same mistake. So you need to drop these players, or you need to do this video analysis thing, because a mistake made several times is a choice. Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate and flipping it on its head, people. The players have to take the blame. They're the ones either not retaining the information, but you need to ask questions. And Emery, to a degree, knew what he was walking into. Not playing Guendouzi was, not starting Torreira was poor. And to be honest with you, as the game went on, you could see West Ham probably getting a second. I'll give us credit. We seemed to wake up last 20, 25 minutes when the substitutions were obviously made. I feel Ramsey and Torreira, when they played quite well when they came on. The formation change as well. I think, if anything, I don't feel Iwobi was amazing, but Iwobi can leave with some sort of pride because he tried. Probably Kohler and Maitland now is just on the bounce of the second half as well. Guendouzi maybe for application, but he was terrible today in my opinion. Yeah, we shot ourselves in the foot. Last 20, we was finally playing like a side how we should have in the start. The centre halves were finding suitable options for a forward pass. Our midfield were getting on the ball and trying to play passes forward. We were getting some combinations, and obviously Kohler was getting forward, and we had some half chances and efforts that went on for corners and stuff like that. But ultimately, it weren't enough. For me, I'll give credit to West Ham, because that's a big 3 points. They deserve them 3 points. For us, it's our own doing. This is another game where we look at poor tactical decisions from the manager or cheap mistakes from the players that have cost us. You cannot get top 4 with this team. You might as well forget it. You got more chance. We got more chance probably winning something non-football related than this, because it's a farce. It's a farce. You can't sit here and only sign players on loan and all of these sort of things and expect to get top 4. This is damning, and it's only going to get worse and things like that. Like I said, we're coming 6th, people, in my opinion, 6th. At a push, I would love to sit here and say I want to get top 4, but you can't sit here with this side. You can't even say take Europa League seriously, because on this basis, look at what they're doing. They're choosing to do this. Like I said, and Iwobi, I'm not Iwobi, Aubameyang on the large of it were woeful today, but I feel sorry for them. People are having to come deep. People are having to swap flanks, all because of no creativity within the side. And I don't want people to be lazy and just attribute that to Xhaka. There has to be some sort of implementation with how we're playing. We're not fashioning chances. Not that we did score a lot of goals, and we still are, so I'll keep balance. But we've gone from side, and it's not the right thing. I'm just highlighting the point. We've gone from a side that would try and walk it into a side that doesn't have an appreciation for trying to build up the play. We can't. Emery has to realise not that he knows it and I know it, but you have to play your best team. You have to play better than that. Your best players. You can't keep chopping and changing. And to be honest with you, Emery is still my guy. So obviously, I'm not saying to sack him and Emery out and all of these sort of things, but for me, he's far too pragmatic. Far too pragmatic. The players were woeful today, but again, you can't keep absolving Emery of all the pressures, because even if we look at it, when we was going unbeaten and I was telling you lot these things, and I was telling you lot that the games are telling several stories, people called me negative. People said, why am I focusing on this? Nobody cares about the crack in the ceiling or the crack in the roof when the sun is shining, but when it starts raining, what do you learn? 50 Cent taught me a valuable lesson when I used to listen to his music, and I still do. When it rains, it pours. When it gets worse, it gets worse. And now you're seeing it. When we was riding our luck, winning games we wasn't supposed to, free scoring, no one wanted to speak. But now you're seeing it. And question marks have to be asked of the players. We've been knowing these players ain't there. And Nuno Emery gets my backing, but again, it was there's no way around it other than cowardly tactics. I've seen bravery from him in the draw against Liverpool and the game against Spurs, but I've seen on the flip of that too many cowardly acts from him, in my opinion. You can't be this pragmatic. This is a guy who said free-flowing football, all of these sort of things. And I'm not saying he doesn't need time to implement these things, but we're playing far too cowardly. And again, I'm not saying it has to be the finished article, but as we're now 7 months or so into his tenure, you kind of want to see what his team is shaping up to be. And you can't. That's one. How would you describe this Arsenal side? You couldn't describe its way of playing. If you was, it would probably be a counter-attacking side, just a basis on the statistics. Liverpool, even when Klopp was there with them poor players, you know what he was trying to implement, that heavy metal, as he calls it. Pep, obviously, at City. I'm not saying that Unai Emery has to win this and that and the other, but what is he trying to implement? What sort of playing? We need to ask questions away from Unai Emery, because his selection was quite. I felt it, and the way we tried to play today kind of set us up for failure. But away from that, who has to take more of the blame is the players, because these players are not fit to wear the shirt. They can't handle pressure, because when the sun is shining, they're out here saying, "Oh, Unai Emery, the tactics are paying off. We look sharper, we look fitter, we look this, we look that." When it's time to stand up and be counted on a pitch, where is it? And again, they'll sit here and you'll see all the post-match comments come out of what we should do, what we need to do, this, that, and the other. And potentially we're on course to drop 9 points in these next 3 games. Like, it's peak. Like, it's peak. And you're looking at the man above, and you're looking at it being the weakest out of the top 6. We need a centre-half. It is January. We're out here, we only got loan players. We can only sign loan players. So it tells you everything about the culture of this club, what it stands for, what we're trying to stand for, and what we're trying to do. And we're not trying to do anything serious, man. And there's really nothing more to say, man. All I can do is say credit to West Ham. At this point, I don't know for anyone else, but I've accepted defeat. We know we're not good enough. Well, I know we're not good enough for serious stuff, so it is what it is. Yeah, bring on Chelsea, man. That looks like another slapping, and then we got to hold another slapping against City. But hopefully, sooner or later, there'll be a 5-0 against Cardiff, and we can go back to feel good, do nothing stuff. But anyways, people, credit to West Ham. Commiserations to Arsenal. Arsenal 0, West Ham 1, West Ham 1, Arsenal 0. Your guy deluded. Again, apologies if you can't hear me, but there ain't nothing I can do in regards to the audio right now, unless any of you want to buy me a camera. If not, suck it up. Turn up your mic, or just click off the vid. Like, I'm sorry to all the people who constantly message this. There's not a damn thing I can do. If you want to put your hand in your pocket, or you want to wait for me to get my phone fixed and my device fixed, which has been scheduled. Do you know how many times I've gone to this same Apple Care? Do you know how many speakers I've bought? Like you lot have seen, I had 2 big speakers, 2 different speakers in 2 other videos. You lot said there were still issues, so I went and sent them back. So I'm trying, people, but I don't know what's wrong with it. So if you can hear me, you can hear me. If not, again, apologies, people. But for now, deluded, I'm out, man. It is what it is, and apologies for not uploading sooner. Those of you who know I'm actually on a course these next 2 days, so I had to wait to watch the game, and I'm gonna watch it again. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I'm tired. I'm gonna watch it tomorrow when I get back, and then tactics board probably late Sunday, maybe Monday. But on that note, people, I've been here for too long. Deluded. Comment, subscribe, and do the rest if you wish.